Hello and welcome to the next Buddhism lesson. Today we are looking at Buddhism practices and we're going to be focusing on the ideas of festivals, meditation and living a monastic life. So to start off with then we need to understand exactly what we're going to do in this session. So by the end of the lesson you're going to be able to describe and explain the importance of meditation in Buddhism. You're going to be able to understand key Buddhist festivals and their significance in Buddhist life. You're going to be able to explain the role of the monastic community, so the Sangha, in Buddhism, as well as be able to use Buddhist terms and scriptural quotations to create GCSE exam-style questions and answers, just to practice ready for any exams you may have coming up. Now, part one then is looking at meditation in Buddhism. Now, to understand what meditation is purely something that leads to wisdom, mindfulness, and at the end of the day, enlightenment. This is something that Siddhartha Gautama, before he became the Buddha, practiced on a regular basis, and it is this that he believes allowed him to reach enlightenment. Now, there are different types of meditation. The first one is samatha, this idea of calming the mind. If you are to sit still and just focus on your breathing, the idea is that you can remove all of the thoughts in your head and just be able to clear it out completely. This is going to be really useful because it helps you stay calm in situations where you might be stressed. You have vipassana, which is insight meditation. This is where you're more focusing on a question or you're focusing on a lesson that you're needing to learn. And by focusing on it over and over and over again, you'll eventually discover the answer of what it is that you need to do next. You also have Zen, which is more linked to Zen Buddhism, which is the sitting meditation. Now, quite literally, all you are to do is to sit perfectly still. This idea then is that if you can sit perfectly still without moving, you have total control of your body. The way that you gain control of your body is through control of the mind. So in order to sit still, you must first control the mind. Finally, then, you have this last sort of bit of loving and kindness meditation. Now, this often will include using chants as a way to try and put positivity and love and kindness out into the areas around you, including yourself, as a way to try and grow your compassion. Now, usually meditation is focusing on breathing, your body, or your thoughts. So by focusing on your breathing, you're allowing your vessel, your physical form, to stay very calm. And when you are in a calm state physically, you can be in a calm state mentally. And when you can have total clarity over your thoughts, that can start to have clarity over your body as well. Often, during things like metta meditation, for example, mantras will be used. Forms of chanting, especially in things like Tibetan Buddhism, will be used as a way to put their energy into the words that they are saying. So whatever it is they are wanting, if they are wanting love or kindness for themselves, by saying those words and speaking them out there, it is creating that element of positivity and, creating that feeling of love within themselves. Sometimes Mahayana Buddhists, for example, will use visualization. So this could be statues of the Buddha, this could be particular ideas or imagery that they can create in their own head that allows them to focus on what it is that maybe they're trying to achieve, whether it be enlightenment or whether it be learning a particular lesson, overcoming a particular challenge in their life. Visualization and actually embedding themselves into almost like a storyboard of their life allows them to know that they can overcome these challenges and that they are capable of doing so. Here are some quotations that you could use to support the importance of meditation and the impacts that meditation can have. For example, the first one, if you can have total control over your thoughts and the way that your thoughts work, you're not going to be shaken when people either praise you or, blame you for doing something. You're not going to be impacted by the words of others if you have total control over your thoughts. Now, it's really important that you do this, as it says here that obviously you need to develop your mind like a skilled carpenter shapes wood. It's something that takes practice, it takes time, so it's something that you have to keep working on. A skilled carpenter doesn't just become a skilled carpenter, they put the practice in first. And then we understand that if we can get to mindfulness, if we can get to complete mindfulness, this is the way that we can escape death. Now, if we were to apply this to a 6-mark question, we would want to use one of those quotations that we've just looked at and link it to one particular type of meditation. Now, I'll explain two types of Buddhist meditation and its use. You could say about samatha and how it helps to reduce suffering. You could talk about the insight meditation and how it links to concentration. You could then embed one of those quotations that we've just looked at to create your point, evidence, explain, point, explain. Now, I know that says 5 things and there's 6 marks in total. If you can reference where the quotation is from and you explain as you are explaining how the quotation links to your point, that is where those marks will come in. So if you can try and manage to use that structure, point, evidence, explain, point, explain, there is no reason why you should not be able to get full marks on a 6-mark question like this. Next, we're going to be looking at Buddhist festivals. Now, there are 2 main festivals that we're going to focus on. Vesak, which is the Buddha Day, and Parinirvana Day, which is celebrating the specific day of the Buddha's death and his attainment of parinirvana, going to and escaping from samsara. Now, Vesak celebrates his birth all the way through to his death. What Buddhists do is they light lanterns, to pay respect to the passing of the Buddha, but also that flame, it holds symbolic meaning. This idea that it's enlightening, it creates light as reaching enlightenment would, but also the fact that there is hope, that you are too capable of reaching and escaping out. Because once you let those lanterns go, what do? They fly off into the sky, showing the fact that, yeah, these things will burn out eventually, but you are capable of leaving this world if you follow the Buddha's teachings. In the same way that if they use chanting, they can focus their meditation and their mindfulness on the specific thing that they are chanting over. Now, some of the other things they might do is give offerings as well as releasing animals. Now, this is something that's going to help them receive good karma. If they can receive good karma on these days, it's going to be really beneficial for them, obviously, if they have done lots of bad things in their life. You see here this quotation, those who honor the enlightened ones, this is a supreme blessing. So basically, if you do a celebration that shows respect to someone like the Buddha, for example, you are going to receive the supreme blessings, that ultimate good karma. Now, Parinirvana Day is more strictly linked to Mahayana traditions, but is effectively commemorating his death. Now, this isn't necessarily a sad or solemn day, but recognizing that he died, that he was able to achieve this escapehood from samsara, and it just allows them to sit and reflect. The fact that they are not a physical being. This was not the physical death this was only the physical death of the Buddha, not the spiritual death of the Buddha. Although he escaped samsara and no longer was going to exist within this realm where we could potentially interact with them again, it doesn't mean that this has to be the same for us either. We don't have to stay here. We use this idea of anicca, this impermanence, this one of the 3 forms of existence. We are not permanent beings. Our flesh will our skin, it will die, it will repair itself, it will constantly change. And that's something that's really, really important on Parinirvana Day, is focusing on that impermanence of self. Now, the purpose of the festivals is actually for one of 3 things. It reinforces the key teachings of the 3 marks of existence. So like I just said with Parinirvana Day, it shows that importance in anicca, that impermanence of self. It also gives opportunity for merit making, this idea of punya, doing things which will allow you to receive positive karma, and it allows you to do so as a community. Now, that can be a really important thing, because being part of the Sangha, being part of the community, will allow you to experience your religion on a much wider scale. Now, as we say, it reinforces the Dhamma, it reinforces the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama and the unity of the Sangha, this idea that if they work as a collective unit, they can do really positive things. Now, if we were to explain 2 ways in which Vesak was celebrated, you could talk about the lighting of lanterns. You could explain why that's the case. You could talk about giving offerings and the fact that it links to this idea of punya and merit making. Doing a very simple point and explaining it like that is exactly what you want to do in these 4-mark questions. Point, explain, point, explain. 4 really simple sentences. Have a go at answering this question yourself. If you want to send it to me for feedback, I'm happy to do so. Finally, then, we get on to looking at the monastic community, or the Sangha, and exactly how it works. So the Sangha is known as one of the 3 refuges, and it's one of the places where you can go, where you know that you can be completely safe, where you can focus on your Buddhist teachings, where you can be surrounded by like-minded individuals. Because existing out in day-to-day society as a Buddhist can be extremely challenging. Now, this will often comprise of monks and nuns. Now, depending on where you are in the world, this can also include the lay community. When we say the words lay community, what we mean is effectively they could be religious practitioners who just live in normal society, who might not have access to all of the understandings of the religion that, really devoted religious practitioners are going to have. So whereas monks and nuns, they have access to all of the readings, all of the texts, the Dhammapada, for example, and the lay community might not have access to that. So they can be believers, but they're not necessarily able to practice it in the same way. Now, the role of monks and nuns is quite simple. They have to follow the Vinaya, which is their list of rules, 227 rules that they must follow, that keep them morally correct, to help them receive good karma, to help them reach enlightenment. Now, they will have to dedicate their entire life to their meditation, their study, and their teaching. This means they have to give up everything that was in their previous life. So that could be their family, their friends, their job. They would have to completely dedicate their life to this meditation, to this study, and to teaching the ways of the Buddha. However, one of the things that monks will need to do is they will need to rely on the lay community to support them, because if they have given everything up, they don't have things for themselves, such as food. So what Buddhist monks will have to do is they will go out into their community and they will rely on the lay Buddhists to offer them food from their own homes to feed the Buddhist monks. This sort of goes to show as a way that their key beliefs of giving nothing strengthens that community even further. And for the lay people, their only job is to support the Sangha, to perform dana, this idea of generosity. If they can do so, they will be following the Buddha teachings, and that's going to help them reach enlightenment. The only other thing that they might need to do is actually just attend the festivals, follow the rules and try and earn positive karma. If they can do so and they can interact with the religion, the likelihood is they can learn more about it, even if they don't have the texts right there in front of them, even if they don't have access to the same thing that the Buddhist monks and Buddhist nuns have. They can still interact within their Buddhist community and learn about enlightenment, learn about the wheel of samsara, learn about all of these things that make such a foundation of their religion. Here are a couple of quotations then that support the importance of monks and nuns. I'm going to give you a moment to copy some of these down, and then we're going to dive into looking at a 12-mark question. So we'll be doing so in 3, in 2, and 1. So here is our question. Festivals are more important than meditation in Buddhism. Now, if we were to say that this is a correct argument, we could say, well, they bring the community together. It allows for people to create good karma, it's a celebration, but also some of the Buddhist teachings are reinforced through symbolic acts. What I've done here is I've given you your main points, I've given you quotations, and I've even given you ways to explain these points as well. You could also include the idea of accessibility, this idea that not everyone can meditate, so everybody, for all ages and abilities, have a way of engaging within their community, engaging with the identity of being a Buddhist. So through all of these different ways, you could argue festivals to be better than meditation. I'll give you an opportunity to copy these things down. The bits in bold are the main points that you're going to make. Then you'll have a sentence underneath with the explanation, and sometimes there'll also be some quotations available for you as well. You can obviously include some of your own quotations that you have as well if you think you've got ones that are better suited to this question. The importance when it comes to 12 markers is to make sure that you maintain that positive attitude. So if you're not sure on a quote, don't use it. Use one that you're more confident with. Confidence is key in terms of being able to complete a really positive 12 marker. When it then comes to arguments for meditation, You could start using some of the different types of meditation and say how it could link to being the direct path to enlightenment, clearing your mind, focusing your thoughts, all of these things is following the Eightfold Path. You could also say how meditation reduces suffering. So the other purpose of meditation is to allow your mind to be cleared so that you can exist within the lay community, so you can interact with the worlds that we know. And when we experience dukkha, that suffering that we all experience, we have a way to reduce that. And finally, the idea is that actually festivals are only temporary. They only come around once in a while, whereas meditation is something you should be doing as a Buddhist every single day. It's a lifelong practice to get it right. So here we have then a perfect counter-argument to festivals being more important. This idea that festivals are only temporary and meditation is a lifelong practice. If you can then add a sentence of evaluation and create a conclusion on your own, you would then have everything you need to be able to create a perfect 12 out of 12 answer. I hope this session has been useful, guys. That is everything from me. I hope we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.